So you want to be a DOP, or you are a DOP but you don't think you're getting the work you're capable of? Well, stick around, people, because this video's for you.
That's a deep question.
I'm sure you know by now, this is a no bullshit channel. So it's not going to be two steps to sunshine and rainbows. The industry's got levels to it. And you want to be careful of the shortcuts you take, and I'm going to knock this cat out.
Wow. I actually like cats.
As a director and many-time executive producer, I've hired a plethora of DPs across the board. So you could say I've got a pretty good grasp of what your potential clients are going to want from you. Plus I've roped in Paul Mortlock, a camera-shy DP, and in all the time I've known him through recessions, through this, through that, he's always been busy. Although after this, he may never work again. So between us, we're pretty well qualified to give you the reality of what producers and directors want, what they need, and how you can give it to them. But at the same time, retain your professional respect. And when I say professional respect, I mean get paid what you're worth. So what we're going to discuss? Well, specialisation, film school beats industry, how to climb the ladder, agents, relationships, dealing with rejection, should you buy gear, what gear should you invest in, how to get your foot in the door, how to turn that client into a returning client, what should you charge, how to negotiate, and how to get paid. So you've got a passion for photography and motion picture. You've got an inner geek that wants to play with all the latest and greatest toys. You want to shoot big budget movies and TV commercials, but you like the excitement of live broadcast. You like the creative freedom of music videos, the adventure of feature-length documentary. Can you be successful across the board, or should you specialise?
Well, they're quite specific techniques. There are people who definitely cross between those, but you generally find guys who specialise in one thing. In my career, I wish I'd become more pointed and more concise about what I want to do earlier. A goal fixed in your mind, something you can work towards, and that particular goal will give you a career path as well. And different people learn different ways, and different people come to the conclusion of what they need to be doing at different times. Once you're a little more established, it's easy to sort of jump a little bit, but to start with, it's pretty good to have a concise idea of what you want to do.
Yeah, having a focused idea of what area you want to work in will absolutely help you advance in your career far, 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 far quicker. When I first left uni, I wanted to be a commercial director, and it happened slower than I would have liked, but far quicker than I expected. I know it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but it focuses you, and it makes every decision you make takes you down that one avenue. And when it comes to focus, I suppose educationally, when you're first starting out on your journey, there's nothing more focused than film school. So should you go to film school?
If you want to work in narrative, then film school is a great bet. It's tough to get in, but you have to be really committed and actually really fucking good too. But what you'll learn there, and the people that you'll meet there, directors, producers, etc., will really help elevate your career. It'll make you a better filmmaker.
Paul makes a very good point about getting into film school, and we're not just talking about getting accepted into film schools. Film schools are expensive. The best film schools are only in a handful of cities around the world, so the chances are you're going to have to move away from your support network. Maybe it's a financial support network, you know, with places where you can live for free, mum and dad's house or whatever, a friend's couch. You know, you might have to move to a city where you don't know anybody. And that's expensive in and of itself. Now granted, these cities all have thriving TV and film industries. So you may want to move there eventually anyway, but it's a lot easier to move to these cities when you're going to move somewhere where you can get work and then support yourself and, you know, start to build a life. So what if financially your only option is your local university?
Getting experience, getting on set is the best thing that you can do. And do it while you're still studying. Do it while you're still on your course. A couple of my regular assistants were out working in industry while still doing their course. I thought that was fantastic. It showed everybody that they gave a shit, you know, that they wanted to get up and be involved. And they were, you know, making more money than anybody else they knew at university, and they hadn't even finished their course. And of course, when they did finish it, they walked straight into industry. They already knew everybody, and they already had a stack of work lined up to do.
Paul's advice is absolutely bang on. This is how I got my start in the industry as well. While I was in my 3rd year of uni, I was out in industry. And I'm not talking about student films and, you know, your mate's music video that you're doing for free with, you know, your £500 camera. I'm talking about proper sets, getting out into proper industry on TV dramas and high-end commercials and stuff like that. Doing that, I met some of the most amazing people. I got to work alongside some immensely talented people. And they're the people that you want to be learning from, and they're the people whose footsteps you want to emulate, and they're the people who are going to give you the shortcuts, give you the benefit of their career and all the mistakes that they've made. So as a set virgin or a newbie, what are some of the do's and don'ts, Mr. Mortlock?
Whatever position you are on set, it's really important to just listen and also be quiet and focused when things are being shot. When I'm behind the lens and we're working on something, it's really frustrating if there's chatter or whatever going on in the background. It makes you sound like a grumpy old git, but when you are focused, you kind of want everybody else to be focused too. And I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. You know, just have a little bit more. I'm actually genuinely surprised about the people who don't look at the shot list, or they don't look at the storyboards, or they hardly even look at the call sheet. Look at that stuff, read it, study it, because it's going to potentially stop you asking a really fucking dumb question on set. So I've been, you would not believe the amount of people who just asked the stupidest questions, and yeah, you know, you're pretty gentle with them, but you know, just getting tapped on the shoulder and someone actually asked me, how many more setups are we doing before lunch? You know, that kind of thing. Well, that not only shows that you just don't give a shit, but it shows that you haven't looked at the call sheet as well.
He's not wrong. And as a director, nobody gets asked more questions on a shoot day. So yes, there's nothing more frustrating than somebody fucking up because they weren't paying attention the first time round when you explain something. But on the same hand, it is really refreshing when you explain, well, it's not more than refreshing, when you explain something and somebody asks further questions. Because now I know that they understand it more and a fuck up is less likely to happen. So now we're getting into the crux of it. You've long since graduated, you're time served on set as an AC or an operator, you've done a few passion projects, you've got a bit of a reel together, and you're ready to start touting for work. Do you need an agent?
Getting an agent is probably not something you want to do straight away, because they need to see that you have a good body of work behind you and a good body of experience. You know, you need to be very sure of your game. You probably need to be pretty much close to the top of your game. But it's not a necessary thing. You know, you can absolutely get on without it if you know the right people. And it's easy to get to know the right people. You just need to have been on a lot of sets. If you're going the drama route, you know, you can climb up from trainee all the way to the top, and by doing that you can meet all the people along the way that you'd need to know. I know plenty of guys who don't have agents. I don't have an agent currently, and we're getting on okay.
Yeah, I concur. And besides the fact that at this stage, any agent worth a salt isn't going to entertain you anyway. You should have, provided you put yourself out there, and as long as you follow the tips in the rest of this video, you should be in a position where opportunities will come your way. That being said, how do you go about forging those relationships that will get your foot in the door, feet in the door, foot in the door?
Personal relationships in whatever you do are absolutely key. Just don't be a dick, and those relationships will come. Don't try and force it, you know, don't try and be everybody's super mate or whatever. Just get on and do it and enjoy it. I mean, that's why we're all here. We're here because we love the industry, and we're incredibly lucky that we're able to get paid for doing something we love.
Super mate. Be aware that everybody on set has a role, and be aware of when pressures are high. Don't go and try to strike up a conversation with the producer about Bitcoin when they're in the middle of dealing with a production crisis. You'll find that it's a very friendly industry and people will engage with you. But there are relationships outside of the crew that it's immensely advantageous to have as a DOP.
If you have a good relationship with a hire house, it can be very beneficial to you because they're a font of knowledge. If you need to do something different or technical, whether you need a really fast lens or you need a periscope or a borescope lens or something to do something, a certain shot, then these people will not only be able to get it for you, but they'll be able to advise you on what the best one is to use. And also a great thing to do straight off the bat, you know, get to know those people and bug them to let them, you know, let you be able to play with all their lovely gear. Say doing a short film and you need to borrow camera gear or whatever. If you already have that existing relationship, if they already know you as the guy who's been bugging them to play with their gear and you've hired stuff on them, then it's much more likely that they're gonna either do you an amazing rate or, you know, better still, maybe let you have it for almost, you know, for free to complete this project. Because moving forward, that forges a fantastic relationship between you and them. They've got a client for life, essentially. So yeah, those relationships are super important.
Paul's pretty much said everything that there is to be said, and he was somewhat hesitant to mention about hire houses giving stuff for free, but I talked him into it because it's true. I've had gear on a plethora of occasions for a plethora of different reasons for free, but it's always been at a time when I'm putting a lot of business over their door as well. So it's, you know, they will support your business as long as you're supporting their business. It swings and roundabouts. Speaking of business, relationships will get your foot in the door, but then how do you turn that foot in the door into an inquiry, then the inquiry into a booking? In order to do that, you need to know what directors and producers want. So what do directors and producers want?
Producers and directors are looking for something. What usually gets you through the door is a strong show reel, a good conversation on the phone, usually with the producer and the director, or actually in fairness, usually just with the producer. And then you might get a face-to-face with everybody. And my advice at that point is just to listen. Listen to what they want, listen to how they want to do it. From there, ask questions. And then try and bring in some of your own ideas into the equation. But I think if they feel understood and they feel that what you're bringing is, you know, is only going to enhance the project, then that would put you in a very strong place.
I've hired Paul many times, so it works on me. But let me give you a little bit of an insight into the untold story here. Yes, it is most likely that it's going to be the producer who contacts you, but you will have either already been requested or at least signed off by the director by this point. And now the producer's calling you up to give you a brief, you know, check your rates, check your availability, etc., etc. You've already been deemed good enough for the job at this point. So put yourselves in the shoes of the producer for a second. It's the producer's responsibility to give the director what they need within a budget to fulfill the treatment. So while you're chatting at this point, if you feel that you've been briefed well enough that you can make some suggestions or you've got some suggestions to make, forget creative suggestions. You want to be making suggestions that are going to either responsibly be budget saving suggestions or logistical saving suggestions. Maybe you already own some of the gear that's going to be required so you can sweeten the deal, or maybe you already know somebody in Mongolia, some crew members. But at this stage, all you're doing is you're just floating these suggestions by the producer. You're just opening the door for them to walk through later on should they choose to hire you. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but don't say anything that you're not 100% sure that you can deliver on. It may just feel like a passing maybe. Oh, I maybe be able to do this, or I maybe be able to find this for you. And that's to you, but to the producer, that's as good as a pinky promise. Once the producer's made their round of calls, they'll come back and sit with the director, and between them, they'll pull the team together, or at least the heads of department. Now, remember, the producer holds the purse strings. So if by this point you have the producer on side, then consciously or subconsciously, the producer will put your case forward favourably. So what does the director care about? Well, first and foremost, are they good? In other words, will they make me look good? Then it's, you know, will we get along? Will we make a good team? Will we get along? Do we complement each other? Will we get along? Do our visions align? Will we get along? Do I trust them? Will we get along? Will we get along is a big thing. And the longer the shoot, the more important it is that you can get along. I've either been a good judge of character or I've been very lucky, because I've never hired a DP that I didn't like more at the end of the job than I did at the beginning. Can't say that about all crew members, but you know, thankfully it's a small industry and dickheads are few and far between. So getting back to what directors want. The director-DP relationship, working relationship, it can come in many different forms. You know, you might have a director who's relatively new, or they just completely focused on performance and they need the DP to basically take full control of everything else. Or if they are new, maybe they need a DP who can carry them through the production. But unfortunately, unless you have a previous relationship with the director, you're unlikely to know exactly what it is that the director's going to need from you. Because at the other end of the scale, you've got directors who were very technically minded and very experienced, and they not only know visually what they want, but they know how to achieve it, and they basically need you to facilitate it. And then there's everything in between. Just know that at the point that you're being contacted, the director feels like you have what they're looking for. And like Paul said, from there on in, it's about listening and then you working out, okay, what does this person want from me? How can I best support them, collaborate with them, whatever that may be. But this is all provided you get the job. So what about when you don't get the job?
So not getting a job can be pretty tough. It's best to just take it on the chin and move on, in my opinion. I guess the question is, do you want to dig into, how much do you want to dig into the reason you didn't get a job? My thoughts on that are, you know, you just need to let it go and move on to the next thing. You can make yourself a right pain in the ass by calling someone up saying, oh, why didn't I get this? And having a big sob story. Just deal with it, move on.
The ability to not get emotionally attached to a job before it gets greenlit for you is an ability that everybody in the industry has to develop. And the more creative the role, generally the more difficult it is not to get attached to a job before it gets greenlit. You've got to strike a balance between wanting to do the job enough that you put in the relevant work that it's going to take in order to get the job, but not wanting it so much that it's going to hurt or be damaging. There could be 1,000 reasons why you didn't get the job, and it's very rare that those reasons are not understandable reasons. Thank them for considering you and to keep you in mind for the next opportunity to work together. In the meantime, go and do some retail therapy, go and buy yourself a new set of sticks. That is a tedious link into the next question. Should you buy gear?
Yeah. I invested in equipment pretty much straight off the bat, and it worked out really well for me. I was able to bring the cameras along to the jobs, and at that time the cameras that I was buying suited the jobs that I was doing. I don't think owning equipment is the absolute zenith. I don't think it's needed. You know, if you're going to go down the drama route, then there's no way you're going to need to buy any of the gear because all the gear is provided. Commercials, yeah, that's probably more of an area where you would potentially bring in your own equipment. But then, you know, even though I own a lot of gear now, 9 times out of 10 if I'm on a commercial set, we'll be pulling in stuff from Panavision or some other hire house, No Drama or wherever, to augment whatever we need to fulfill the job. I don't think it's necessary, but if it's something that you want to do, it certainly can make you more money. If you're doing smaller productions, then that's where it starts to become probably more interesting because you don't have to hire anything in, and there's no overhead costs. So yeah, I guess it really depends what it is that you want to do.
Let's be honest, we all like gear. We like owning gear, and it's handy for productions if you supply gear sometimes. But there is something to keep in mind. If a piece of gear fails that you supplied, it's on you, and it's harder to continue to be productive and find workarounds while you're also trying to fix a problem and get another camera or whatever the gear is, either replace it or fix it or whatever, but at the same time try to find workarounds and continue being productive. It's much easier if the production have hired the gear in, because then it's on them. They need to concentrate on fixing the problem while you can just concentrate on being as productive as possible in the meantime. You get to be a hero. Let's have some general tips from Paul and just getting your foot through the door.
A really good thing to do is have a great social media presence across all the platforms. Even something like LinkedIn, obviously Facebook, Instagram, all the rest of them. Be present. People talk in our industry. They'll say, "Oh, have you seen such and such? Oh, they're doing that, to a point where people will be calling you, or when you get recommended, they'll have heard of you. Now that's a really important thing. And your show reel as well, very important. Keep it short. Try and show as much diversity as skills as possible, unless of course you are aiming just for one specific genre. As I sort of do all kinds of work, mine is quite loose in terms of its subjects.
I'm just going to interrupt Paul just while he's talking about reels and social media. It doesn't matter if you're a DP, an actor, a production house, a writer, an actor, your reel is your advert. I can't go through the many reasons why I've been unimpressed with thousands of reels that I've had to watch, but I can share with you the reasons why I have considered the people behind the reels that I have considered. They have been relevant to the specific project that I have been hired to deliver. If I scrub through a reel and I don't see anything off first glance that's relevant, I'll just put it to one side, maybe to watch again in the future for a different project or whatever. If I get a glimpse of something like that, well, that's kind of in the ballpark of what we're looking to do, or a stylistic or whatever, then I'll watch the reel. As I'm saying this, I'm suddenly realising I've been editing my own reels wrong all these years. But like me, I assume, you want to show the breadth of what you can do, demonstrate how versatile you are. And if my reel crossed my desk, I probably wouldn't hire me. That's a sobering thought. But if I broke them down and did all separate reels, and for those people who are like me and Paul, who have scattered reels that say too much and not enough, then yeah, maybe there's some advice in there for you too. Sorry for the interruption, but I think it might be valuable. Let's get back to Paul and his general tips for getting your foot in the door.
Be tactile about how you approach people and how often you approach people. I certainly know of 2 or 3 examples of producers getting fed up with hearing from the same person again and again and again. And to be totally honest, it gets you talked about and not in a good way, and it puts your name right at the back of the queue. So where you think that you're being really, proactive, they're just thinking you are a pain in the ass.
I can neither confirm nor deny that anyone's been a pain in my ass. What he says is right. I'm not very good at maintaining a consistent social media presence. Don't do as I do, do as Paul says. You've probably noticed we're getting very close to the end of this video, and there's a lot of stuff we've not covered yet. Mainly the stuff once you start to get work as being a DOP. Things like, should you work for free? How to influence the grid without being in the grid? How to turn that first-time client into a repeat client? General tips on how to do a great job, how to get the kit that you need, what to charge, how to get paid, and loads more. You might have noticed the change of clothes, it's a different day, this got interrupted, we're now picking it up. Plus it's a good place to split the video in 2. It was getting a bit long. As ever, I've been James Statham. Hopefully you've not been bored. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I'll see you in part 2.